Begini, bayar Rp65.000 per bulan untuk aplikasi streaming, lalu Rp54.990 per bulan untuk aplikasi musik, lalu Rp150.000 untuk aplikasi video, dan lebih banyak lagi biaya untuk aplikasi lain. Sungguh pemborosan. Mengapa tak coba YouTube Premium hanya dengan Rp69.000? Bayangkan punya semuanya dan seluruh layanan YouTube tanpa jeda. Pilihan yang ramah di kantong. YouTube Premium, coba 1 bulan gratis.
kepada para peserta acara kick-off, para Bapak Ibu yang masih berada di depan ruangan, agar dapat kembali ke dalam ruangan karena sesi pemaparan proyek SETI oleh Bapak Johannes akan segera dimulai. Kepada Bapak Ibu yang masih berada di depan ruangan, agar dapat kembali ke dalam ruangan karena sesi pemaparan terkait proyek SETI oleh Bapak Johannes akan segera dimulai.
Oke. Selamat sore Eko. Oke, baik.
Cek.
Mungkin yang masih di depan tempat kopi sama snacknya mungkin masih masuk lagi ke ruang meetingnya. Kita mulai.
Ya, kepada Bapak Ibu yang masih berada di depan ruangan untuk dapat kembali ke dalam ruangan karena sesi pemaparan dari Bapak Yohanes selaku koordinator proyek SETI akan segera dimulai. Kemudian juga untuk Bapak Ibu dari kementerian atau dari pemerintah kota yang memiliki SPD untuk dapat berkumpul di depan meja registrasi. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih banyak pada peserta yang hadir hari ini. Nama saya Pak Johannes dari GIZ Program Energi. Mohon maaf kita sedikit terlambat hari ini dengan program, tapi saya juga lebih cepat. Nanti kita bisa masuk makan siang ya, tidak telat. Ini bukan tapi sudah lebih ke arah teknisnya. Mohon maaf, aku akan pindah ke bahasa Inggris karena slide-nya semua bahasa Inggris dan sedikit aneh kalau baca dan dengarnya bedanya. My role in this project is the SETI project coordinator for the whole consortium. So I'm speaking on behalf of the consortium, which you already have heard in the opening speeches, consists of our colleagues from WRI Indonesia, ISR, CERA, as well as LPMOE, LPMFEP UI, and our colleagues from Germany, Fraunhofer. I would like to give a little bit more insights into the programmatic approach and the strategy of our work, which goes beyond working in the city of Surabaya and Batam, but we will of course focus today on this specific output. The project itself is supporting those challenges, trying to harvest the opportunities that lie within the energy transition in Indonesia. We have heard those targets, those national targets, again from Bu Director Febi from EPTK Aneka EBT, Directorat EPTKE, as well as from the colleagues on the ground, Pak Sekja and representatives from Kota Surabaya. Those national targets can be translated into several themes that we are looking at in terms of power system transformation. So what does the grid need to do? What needs to happen in our grid and how to fortify and enable the grid system? While also looking at a just energy transition, meaning taking the people along and making sure that the costs as well as the benefits of those transitions happening are actually translated into the people's understanding as well as the benefits to them as well. Of course, industries play a very crucial role in terms of the energy transition as one of the bigger consumers in Indonesia and worldwide. And we are looking at several options of solutions to that, also including small-scale island energy solutions or off-grid opportunities that can be utilized to support the energy transition. And last but not least, we all know these things come down to money and funding. So what we have in our program is a very clear target also to communicate about the cost benefits, but also on the costs associated with the transition, to make sure that the general public can understand why and how those long-term or medium-term investments are necessary to increase the prosperity and the economic development of this country as well. So basically everybody needs to play a role in an energy transition of that scale happening globally, broken down to the Indonesian context as well. How do we do this?
Untuk para peserta yang mungkin membutuhkan alat interpretasi, kami menyediakan di meja registrasi jika membutuhkan. Terima kasih.
So how do we do this? Actually is by working in different areas, from cooperating with the private sector and the industry, providing policy advice to our key political partners on the national but also on the local level, trying to identify and implement technology pilots, providing trainings to people, increasing their capacity, supporting technical studies and pre-feasibility from auditing to the actual implementation, as well through stakeholder dialogues, raising awareness of the general public and of our decision makers in politics, as well as develop institutions that work hand in hand with us on those topics to make sure that they can convey the message and the positive opportunities that lie within the energy transition in Indonesia. A quick recap of the project outline as a general remark. So mentioned earlier from the director of the energy program, Bu Lisa Tinschert. It's a bilateral program. It's funded under German-Indonesian Development Cooperation International Climate Initiative. And it still runs until 2028, which is a perfect length for a project to start with a new local government to work with. So we can see also the fruits of our work towards the end of that legislation. And we are looking at a budget of around 15 million to support on the technical level. Our key ministries, earlier represented by Bu Febi from Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, EPTK Aneka and EPTK TEK for energy conservation, as well as with Ministry of Industry, the Center of Green Industry. We're also working with Kemenpu and Kemenpr, as well as Kemendagri. So what are we looking to achieve with this project? We want to strengthen a sustainable energy ecosystem from individuals up to the institutional level by transforming industries and the building sector, by accelerating energy generation as well as energy efficiency in those two areas, and through that contributing to the decarbonization journey of Indonesia. Of course, every taxpayer's money project will need to have strong impact indicators and measures to show how we actually achieve those. And this project particularly will be measured in terms of its GHG emission reductions achieved, as well as the funding leveraged for supporting the energy transition. So when we say technical cooperation, it means we don't bring the money to pay for the actual project implementation, but support it from a technical point of view and allow others to chip in and to do the investment themselves from the private sector, but also from a city government with a clear strategy and vision to become green and sustainable. We are also measured in terms of how we achieve to take people along this journey of an energy transition. So following a concept of leave no one behind, we're also aiming to ensure that those who can benefit, but those also who might in the first place see some additional burden through that energy transition, will be either compensated and or understand those long-term and medium-term risks and developments happening around them. So it should not work as a top-down approach, but rather a bottom-up and taking along people that are willing to shape that future sustainable city of Surabaya. In a graphic, it's very easy to show. So we look at those demonstrations, at those pilots. One of it is Surabaya from an industry point of view, but also from a building point of view, built environment point of view. On the other hand, supporting EBTKE and the local government to revise, update, and modify existing policies that will help them to achieve those targets, and then blend it with measures to support sustainable financing happening. So trying to come together and match existing project developers or the local government with existing national and international funding schemes. Some of the banks are already moving into more green loan schemes that are available for local government but also for private sector entities, and we are trying to support that matching effort by reducing the costs through technical assistance. All in all, this will build an improved ecosystem for a sustainable energy transition in Indonesia. Let me very briefly talk about this second pillar on Industry Energy Lab, because Surabaya is a quite interesting case with a lot of integrated industries happening inside the city premises, and not like in other world regions where industries are pushed to, let's say, outside area, and it's not very integrated in the way. Surabaya has overgrown somehow the CR area in the meantime, so it's fully integrated. If you look at it, all sites are enclosed by people living there, which brings them to a very, it's a strategic position, geolocation as well, but of course it's also coming with some constraints in terms of future expansion and the environmental hazards and risks management that they have to deploy there. So looking at this, so Indonesia, of course, you have a high GHG emission profile on the industry side as well, almost 75%. If you look at the total economic growth that's projected, emissions will go even up from the industry side. So reducing emissions there by introducing energy efficiency, but also replacing fossil fuel supply with renewables is of utmost importance. The project has selected for key sectors that we're working with, plus industrial parks, which usually comprise of different sectors in one bundle, and support them through technical works as well. So this is just a schematic, and it will vanish in a second if my programming worked well, perfect, because it's not of necessity to understand each of the details here, but it basically says we provide technical assistance in terms of auditing, pre-feasibility studies, and matchmaking with financial institutions for private sector entities, as well as looking into district-wide options for industrial parks, for example. When we move to the built environment work that we are doing, and we have termed this or called this the Built Environment Energy Lab, we have a clear focus on the intersection of buildings, the city comprising of multiple infrastructural elements inside that city that we look at, and the core is to see from a demand perspective. So who consumes the energy in that sphere, and what can we do to reduce the consumption, meaning produce savings in terms of cash flow, as well as increasing the use of renewable energy sources. Of course, there's limitations when you look at a fully densely developed city like Surabaya. There's not so many brownfield or greenfields that you can use for solar development on the ground. But of course, there's like rooftops that can be utilized, as well as introducing advanced technologies, reducing the energy consumption from, let's say, air conditioning. And of course, the city is in constant change and it's dynamically changing. So the question is, what can a city government do without overburdening the inhabitants as well with the changes that are happening? So what are we providing to the city government is we're trying to network them, and I can tell you this is a nudging and push and pull factor as well, because I mentioned earlier, while our VIPs were still in the room, we want to put Surabaya city on the stage to be a positive example, which means they have to deliver as well. And we're really looking forward to support that, to make them being proud and the citizens of the city also proud to represent a green, sustainable, and low carbon city on national, international stage as well. And that will ultimately lead to other cities trying to replicate and learn from your lessons. And this is, of course, like what we would like to see and support in the future. Capacity building plays a very critical role in this. So if you don't understand what we are talking about in terms of energy and the needed transition, of course, it's very hard to convince others to follow your lead. So we will invest also in the capacity building from decision makers, leaders, but also on the technical level in the administration and outside. Energy efficiency is one of our key working areas in the building sector, in the built environment topic of SETI, pushing for operational cost efficiency and showcasing how sensitive those costs are in terms of changing conditions, let's say increase of energy price, increase of gas price, reduction of 3 kilo LPG program, right? So what would happen if we do have a more household-based electrification program? How does this change the whole scheme? I would like to give you one example where we have already done something like this, not on the very, very broad scale, but with a key focus on hospitals, in this case through a project called C40 City Financial Facility with Kota Jakarta. And we calculated the socioeconomic and environmental impact of that work through auditing 27 public hospitals in Jakarta. This is a case that could be replicated or done in a very similar way here in Surabaya. Not necessarily on hospitals, but maybe on all the public schools or all the schools that are existing, universities, specific sizes of malls or apartment buildings. The scheme is kind of similar, but you see from those numbers there are electricity savings which translate into money, as well as GHG emission and carbon emission reductions that you can derive from that. For different different audiences, those numbers mean different things, and we have to cater to those people who have an ear for, let's say, more the money, more the GHG emissions, depending on what stage they would like to speak about it. I'm not going into those individual details, but I can tell you, I can point to the person who could tell you everything about that project, who's sitting here in the front row. Emil Salimi has been working on this project. Just to tell you, analyzing the installation and capacity for solar rooftop, and as well as energy efficiency measures by peak load savings, and then calculating the monetary savings that are possible from that, even taking into account future tariff increases, for example, right, shows you very clear numbers that there is a cost benefit of doing something on energy efficiency in this case from the hospital sector. What they do is different energy efficiency measures, calculating and analyzing, like low investment, high investment, what could be done, trying to look at the retrofitting capacity of those buildings, so really looking to the design as well to make sure that we're not just making a rough calculation, but it's actually attached to the individual building, so it's really feasible from a technical point of view. And then as well, trying to figure out how this could be financed. So those investments, of course, they come with a budget estimation, can be financed through public financing, so fully through APBD, or using green loans, or having a commercial loan rate. So to just see what would be the return of investment and how long would you need to pay back for those kind of energy efficiency and renewable energy works. Out of that, you can do baseline assessment for this, for all of that, for all of those projects, and see what is the payback period for the investment. And then, of course, it is to the client to decide which option they want to use, what type of blended or non-blended financing scheme they would like to utilize. And as I said, this is an example from a hospital assessment of 27 hospitals, but it can be translated in the scheme we have done to, let's say, all the public schools in Surabaya, or looking at bigger malls, and then the client would be, of course, the owner, manager of those mall, and they have then to make the decision: is it low investment to replace only the lighting to LEDs, that comes with a certain number of GHG emission and electricity cost reduction, or do they go for a more integrated, full-fledged pilot project, replacing all the air conditioning into a more centralized format, matching it with some neighboring buildings, connecting the air condition system to the building from PEMCOT next to it, for example, right, to make a little of a district cooling system, for example. So these type of technology options are there. It's then due to the decision makers from the institutions and the client, in this case, to decide which ones they want to push forward. So going back into what SETI is a plan to do here in Surabaya as well in Batam. So we're supporting on the research side, we are supporting on the capacity building, of course, providing access to finance and helping matchmaking, see what type of policies and regulations are missing or needed to actually be able to make such decisions on a local level, which we understand is still a bit of a critical area, because there's a lot happening on a national level, which then still needs to be translated into the local level, and of course technical assessments for those pilots in terms of auditing, pre-feasibility, and technical works. With that, and I put here in brackets, sorry, options, meaning there will be a dialogue with the stakeholders here in Surabaya to identify the most feasible ones and to see what is really the need. This is more a general overview of what we can offer, and it needs and will be tailored to, yeah, the appetite, the impetus, the willingness of the people and decision makers here in Surabaya, and we are really looking forward to that. I think we saw a lot of spirit in the right direction today. It's also the reason why we are here. We are selected Surabaya to use that, and if I understood everything correctly earlier, there's no race with Batam, of course, but we will have these two cases, and it will be hopefully very visible to the outside as well, how such an energy transition can happen and be implemented on the local level. So the SETI consortium is looking forward to a successful cooperation with the Surabayan people, the city government, its private sector representatives, as well as the civil society, to achieve tangible results, real, concrete, tangible results for Indonesia's energy transition, and putting Surabaya on the stage as a positive example of a prosperous, green, and sustainable city. And I'm really looking forward to support you in that. We are ready, we are here, we are kickstarting this today, and I'm looking forward to the afternoon sessions where our colleagues will also present on more concrete steps, what's requested from you, the representatives of civil society, academia, as well as the local government, on what we need to do now, what will be our next steps, assessing the building sector in Surabaya to come up with those tangible options to be implemented later on. Thank you very much.
Ya. Baik, terima kasih kepada Pak Yohanes atas pemaparannya. Selanjutnya kami akan membuka sesi Q&A untuk para peserta yang mungkin punya pertanyaan atau ingin tahu lebih lanjut terkait proyek SETI. Kami batasi sekitar 3 pertanyaan terlebih dahulu untuk saat ini. Dari peserta mungkin ada yang ingin mengajukan pertanyaan, silahkan. Bisa diperkenalkan terlebih dahulu Ibu, siapa dari mana?
Thank you. My name is Eka Dewi. I'm a lecturer from Petra Christian University. Dr. Johannes, I would like to ask, can you share with us the best practice or maybe some examples from the results of energy audit for the 27 hospitals in Jakarta? Thank you.
So that's very, very good. I will actually forward this directly to Pa Emil because he has been working on that project, so he's way more into the details. Pa Emil, you want to come or you want to stay there? Yeah. Atau di sini, Pak? Nggak apa-apa.
Ya, terima kasih. Ya, oke, terima kasih Mbak siapa? Eka Dewi dari Petra ya. Jadi yang kita lakukan di Surabaya, di Jakarta itu adalah mengaudit rumah sakit ya untuk energi efisiensi. Total 27 rumah sakit kita audit. Ada 4 tipe rumah sakit, tipe D, C, B dan A ya. Yang tertinggi A itu yang paling lengkap servisnya untuk ya rumah sakit ya. Jadi kami menemukan bahwa jika kita menggunakan teknologi yang paling baru ya, artinya full scale investment untuk energi efisiensi, itu penghematan yang bisa dimunculkan sangat besar. Tadi disampaikan oleh Pak Jo itu ada 28,7 billion per year, which is 46% dari total energi bill hospital itu setahun. Ya, itu total penghematan. Tentu ada asumsi-asumsi yang kita buat. Misalnya bahwa yang pertama untuk O&M-nya rumah sakit mampu mengerjakan ya, artinya untuk maintenance operation itu mereka sangat mampu mengerjakan. Yang kedua tipe investment juga itu full scale tadi saya sampaikan, dari low cost sampai yang paling high cost ya investmentnya. Jadi lengkap itu dari kalkulasi kita sehingga kemudian muncullah angka penghematan sebesar 46%. Artinya bahwa kalau kota itu berkomitmen untuk menerapkan investasi ini baik menggunakan dana APBD maupun dana dari luar, pihak swasta misalnya melalui dengan metode atau model PPP, ini bisa dilaksanakan ya. Tentu butuh komitmen yang besar dari kota untuk menerapkan itu. Tapi tidak lupa juga bahwa untuk rumah sakit itu sendiri kita perlu adanya capacity building ya, agar mereka bisa mengoperasikan peralatan-peralatan energi efisiensi dengan baik di kemudian hari, seperti itu. Apakah itu bisa menjawab pertanyaannya Bu Eka? Kalau kita, memang untuk Jakarta itu belum diterapkan ya Bu ya. Studinya baru berakhir tahun kemarin, jadi belum dimulai penerapannya. Tapi kalau kita bicara alat, nanti mungkin Bu Ramil lebih bisa menjelaskan juga nih ya. Dari hal yang simple, misalnya pergantian bola lampu, pergantian AC dari AC yang biasa ke AC yang lebih tinggi teknologinya gitu ya, VRF misalnya gitu ya, pergantian boiler misalnya di rumah sakit, ditambah juga dengan energi manajemen sistem, nanti kita tempatkan di rumah sakit, sehingga nanti rumah sakit dan pihak dinas kesehatan, dinas energi itu bisa memonitor energinya dengan baik gitu ya, setiap saat untuk melihat apakah ekspektasi penurunan konsumsi energi itu tercapai apa enggak, dan kalau tidak nanti apa yang bisa dilakukan untuk mencapai target itu. Saya kira dalam studi kami itu semua hal diperhitungkan, termasuk teknologi terbaru yang bisa dipakai untuk rumah sakit. Seperti itu ya, Bu. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih atas pertanyaannya Bu dan kepada Pak Emil atas jawabannya. Mungkin dari peserta ada lagi yang ingin menanyakan, memberikan pertanyaan, silakan Pak.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Johannes. My name is Ahmad Ansarifin, and I think you can speak Indonesian also. So maybe I'm not pretty much confident in my English, but I'm trying to speak in Indonesia also. So I'm coming from private university, Institut Teknologi Aditama Surabaya, or ITATS, and it is very good project, I think, and if I'm not wrong, it's coming from 2023 to 2028. Is it correct? Yeah. Is there any empty role, or probably we can join some project coming from university? Maksud saya adalah apakah mungkin ada penjalin kerjasama atau hal yang bisa kita lakukan gitu dari university gitu kepada project ini gitu. Seperti itu, Pak. Thank you very much.
Oke, Pak
Anas.
Anas.
Yes.
Ya, terima kasih banyak, Pak.
Okay.
Anas. Yes, there's definitely a role for local-based academic institutions in the project as well. To the extent of this, at this moment, I can only say that depending on the selected and identified opportunity projects, right? They will be like more in a pipeline and in a consultation process with the local government as well as with the representatives of Surabaya, which will include academic institutions as well. There might be opportunities to participate either as an institution in terms of receiving direct technical support, let's say retrofitting or increasing energy management, for example, in academic institutions in Surabaya could be one of those general projects, right, we look at. Of course, Surabaya is a very important location for higher education as well. So there's a lot of facilities here, there's a lot of buildings. This would be like translating from the Jakarta hospital example. We could also look at the facilities from the different universities here in Surabaya. That is like becoming a beneficiary kind of the project. The second option is if there are studies on, let's say, acceptance of the work that we are proposing and conducting together with the government of Surabaya, to see what is the perception from the academic side as well, and what are their concerns maybe about such projects, right? So, usually if there's a change in regulation or there will be FGDs held with participation from the different faculties and institutions on the research side as well. So that, I think, is also right, shaping and participating in the execution. And last but not least, when we do practical implementation, let's assume that we select assessing all the school buildings here in Surabaya. I cannot do that myself. So there will be additional procurement through tender process, public tendering processes, to conduct auditing, to conduct pre-feasibility studies, technical pre-feasibilities, and depending, of course, on the RFP, TOR for these kind of works, you might be, as an institution, as a consultant, as an individual, be eligible to apply for this. So I see three different options, right? Becoming a beneficiary, becoming a contributor to the discussion and shaping policies, for example, and or participating in public tendering processes to help execute the program. We will rely, particularly on the last one, we will also rely on the local knowledge of people that are actually living here. Of course, it cannot all be done, steered and organized and managed from Jakarta side, so we will be working a lot here with the resources available. And I'm receiving some signs that people are getting hungry, but I want to say the fourth one as well is I'm also getting hungry, so it means I lost what I wanted to say now. Thanks, Felix. So being a beneficiary participation in the works as well as in public tendering, I think there were 4, but I lost the last one, sorry. So, ya, sudah cukup ya, cukup jelas ya, Pak? Oke, terima kasih.
Pak Jo mungkin satu sedikit tambahan Pak Jo.
Boleh?
Iya, sorry.
Boleh, Felix cuma berhenti saya, kan Emil masih boleh ya?
Saya tambah 5 menit ya sekali. Menit ya.
Oh semua ya?
Semua. Jadi saya ingin menekankan Bapak Ibu sekalian dari Kota Surabaya bahwa apa yang kami rencanakan sekarang memang masih dari sisi kami. Artinya semua rencana kita buat sekarang termasuk draft rencana kerja itu masih dari sisi kami ya. Artinya dalam kaitan dengan konsultasi di Surabaya kan belum dimulai dengan baru hari ini dimulai lah kira-kira ya diskusinya. Jadi ke depan kami harapkan nanti untuk rencana kerja misalnya kita bisa duduk bareng lagi membahas rencana kami di Kota Surabaya. Tentu masukan dari Pak Ibu semua paling penting untuk kita dengarkan dan kita nanti koordinasikan bersama dengan Pemkot Kota Surabaya. Jadi sekali lagi SETI ini baru mulai di Kota Surabaya dan kita harapkan nanti proses koordinasi dan juga konsultasi dengan Pemkot itu berjalan lancar secara rutin ke depan sampai berakhirnya proyek SETI. Ya, nanti mohon dibantu nanti untuk masukan atau saran atau juga dukungan lain yang diperlukan untuk SETI untuk bisa lancar di Kota Surabaya. Ya, terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih atas pertanyaannya dan juga kepada Pak Yohanes, Pak Emil atas penjelasannya. Karena keterbatasan waktu, jadi kami perlu mengakhiri sesi Q&A pada sesi hari ini. Dengan demikian selesai sudah rangkaian acara pembukaan proyek SETI di Kota Surabaya. Kami mengucapkan terima kasih atas kehadiran dan perhatian Bapak Ibu sekalian yang sudah datang, yang sudah memperhatikan baik secara daring maupun luring di acara ini. Kami selaku tim proyek SETI sangat berharap agar aktivitas proyek SETI ke depannya dapat berbuah dan juga berdampak bagi kemajuan dan keberlanjutan Kota Surabaya. Selanjutnya kami mempersilahkan bagi para peserta untuk melaksanakan prayer break dan juga makan siang hingga pukul 13.00 dan diharapkan seluruh undangan untuk kembali lagi pada waktu yang sudah ditetapkan. Untuk sesi selanjutnya akan diadakan di ruang vision yang berada di lantai yang sama di sebelah sisi kanan lift. Dan untuk para peserta yang tidak melanjutkan ke sesi siang, kami harap untuk dapat bisa mengembalikan interpreternya di meja registrasi. Terima kasih, selamat siang dan selamat beristirahat, selamat menikmati hidangan siangnya dan sampai bertemu lagi di sesi selanjutnya. Terima kasih.